Hello, welcome to this match of the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament. My name is Royal Orange, and together with my colleague Anna Maria Urbanova, we'll be hosting the Day 2 match between two universities participating to the competition, one in South America and one in Australia in the Pacific. So both of them actually are competing in order to qualify for the 8th of finals. So they are as well having a match later, and as well they already got with another university, the University of Bologna. So today we have the University of the Republic in Uruguay, in Montevideo, and we have as well the University of Melbourne in Australia. So both of them will be debating on a topic which has been given 7 days ago, and as well, of course, they will be as well knowing today, just 5 minutes before the match, what is the position to be in favor or against the motion. I think I will give now the floor to my colleague as well to introduce as well the topic and maybe the teams.
Thank you very much, and once again, good evening to Montevideo and good morning to Melbourne. It's good to have you for the day 2 or the round 2 of the group phase. Just a short reminder to the teams and to the audience, of course, the debate statement of today's match is that of dispute resolution methods, arbitration and mediation should be preferred for cases of international conflict resolution between the states over courts and tribunals. So the statement was released to the teams at the same time. They had same time of preparation. And as my colleague said, only a few minutes before the match starts, they will know which position they will be defending during the session. And that is about all from me. Now it's time for the teams to introduce themselves, starting with the debate team from the University of the Republic of Uruguay, Mr. Mishnidi.
Well, good morning to the team of University of Melbourne. My name is Ignacio Michelini, and I'm a student of law school, and I'm in 4th grade. It's a pleasure to be participating in this debate.
Good evening, I'm Federica.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Federica, and also from the University of Republic, 3rd year of law school, and it's also a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. From the debate team of the University of Melbourne, Mr. Slonim.
Hello, everyone. I am Yuan Slonim. I am a 3rd year student in my JD here at the University of Melbourne. And it's a pleasure to be here, and we're very excited to compete this morning.
Welcome. Again from University of Melbourne, Ms. Bala.
I'm a 2nd year JD student from Melbourne. Excited about this.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have the both teams at today's match. I'll be passing the floor to my colleague who will be shortly sharing his screen with the algorithm that's going to assign in favor and against positions during the debate. Afterwards, there will be 5 minutes for the teams to finalize their preparation. As my colleague is preparing to share his screen, just a short reminder, when there is a yellow card from my video feed, it means there's 30 seconds left of the speaking time. When there is a red card, it means the speaking time is over. The teams can still comfortably conclude their sentences, but likely won't be starting new ones.
Yeah, so now I will, I will share my screen. So on YouTube, they already see the algorithm, but you will see it as well in the WebEx room now. So normally you should see what I have on my screen. So concretely, there are 2 positions possible for each university. It means to be in favor or to be against. For the University of Melbourne or for the University of the Republic. So now I click in the center, and you will know which position you will have for this match. So this is the University of Melbourne who will be against the motion. As a consequence, that will be the University of the Republic who will be in favor, and as well will be starting the match, because it's always the team who is in favor who starts the match. So concretely, the University of the Republic will be defending the position that of dispute resolution methods, arbitration and mediation should be preferred for cases of international conflict resolution between the states over courts and tribunals. On the other side, the University of Melbourne will be defending the position that of dispute resolution methods, arbitration and mediation should not be preferred for cases of international conflict resolution between the states over courts and tribunals. So now my colleague is sharing the screen for the 5 minutes countdown, and after the end of this countdown, that will be the start of the match for the position in favor.
Right. Thank you very much for your patience. The time for preparation has now ended. We will be now starting the debate. The team with position in favor, being the debate team from University of Republic, you now have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable panel and members of Melbourne University, good evening. As internationally recognized Uruguayan jurist Jiménez de Arechaga once highlighted on his first treaty of international law, human nature possesses a conflictive tendency. The international community has advanced enough in order to implement law that not only screams towards injustice, but also is capable of enunciating clear, firm, and effective responses. Facing international law, the enormous challenge of listening a choir of voices in different languages with opposite interests, needs, and cultural views. However, regardless of these differences, all members must have access to justice guaranteed. So, Article 2.3 of the UN Charter establishes that all countries must establish their disputes by the use of peaceful means. Also, Article 33 of the UN Charter enumerates alternative means, including arbitration and mediation. These means are not modern. They have been present since ancient times, even before judicial processes. However, due to the lack of ability of the judicial system to respond and to provide access to justice, the use of these means has grown enormously, establishing the question if these means should be preferred over courts, and we deeply believe that this is the case. First of all, this team strongly defends the use of mediation as a very important recourse, especially when a legal process and a judicial process can be avoided. There have been several cases that show that this means can make the difference, such as the case of the Indonesian government and the Free Assage movement. The mediation that was promoted by the Finnish president ended up a 30-year armed conflict that had 15,000 of victims. This shows how diplomacy and dialogue can reach a healthier international community. Also, let's face it, taking another state to the International Court of Justice is intimidating, and countries show a reluctant attitude towards this. Ian Broline explains that this happened because taking a court, hauling another state to the International Court of Justice is regarded as an unfriendly act, and because of the nature of international relationships. Also because other dispute methods are more suitable because of technical matters, and mostly because of the flexibility that the arbitration process provides. Another key point to mention is that, economically speaking, alternative means are way more preferable than putting another country to the court. According to the annual UN report, in the period of August of 2021 and August 2022, a year, the International Court of Justice spent more than $30 million, and it has only attended 18 cases. This shows us 2 points. First of all, that although a lot of human resources and economic resources are invested, a lot of the international problems remain unattended. And also that a lot of countries that cannot access economically to this can be in disadvantage, because sustaining a process in the court is very expensive, and this can emphasize the vulnerability differences between one country and another. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your submission. The team with the against position, so the debate team from Melbourne University, you now have 4 minutes.
Thank you, everyone, for having us, your honors, and the team of Uruguay. Thank you for being such a great competitor so far. Perfection is a fallacy. We like to say in the world that we can figure things out by ourselves, by going to tables, by sitting together and negotiating peacefully. Right, that is what the UN Charter says. But the UN Charter also states that the ICJ has a role as an advisory body to every single state that is a sovereign state to come to the ICJ and to speak if they have a conflict that they cannot settle. That is what it's always been, and that's what it always shall be. The universality principles of jus cogens specifically focuses on the principles of international law and why they exist. They exist to offer countries that are smaller, countries that are with less resources to take on the bigger countries. Nicaragua took the United States of America to the ICJ over a treaty that they originally agreed upon. Mediation cannot solve that because of the lack of transparency. When we are in a courtroom, all of a sudden evidence is there for the judges to look, and that's what their job is, to fact find. The US offered one approach to their interpretation of the treaty, while Nicaragua, who is small and had less resources, said, no, this is what was originally agreed upon. The courts, they looked at that and they found that, yes, the US had violated the treaty. That is a job for a court and not a job for a mediation room, where the US can say to the public domain, we are cooperating, when in reality, they're sitting in a room and they are not cooperating. That is a problem for the ICJ to solve. Hilary Charlesworth, a current member of the ICJ and a professor here at the University of Melbourne, once wrote, "The divisions between developed and developing nations challenge the Western understanding of the universality of principles. In the public domain, we must bring in the marginalized, and we must have a voice for the poor and women." This was in her book that she wrote in 2000 about the feminist movement in international law. She says that with the courts, marginalized people have a chance of speaking up through their states, whereas if it was in a boardroom, they would never have a shot, because a state's job for their own people on the domestic level is to only win. That's all hidden in a boardroom. But in a courtroom, you cannot hide what you're actually going after and what your end goal will be. The second problem is that it is not a quick process. Mediation takes a lot of time. To even get two sides to agree to sit at the table takes a lot of time. At a courtroom, a court will issue the date, and that date is set. There is no delay. It may take 2 years, but that is shorter than the 5 years or 10 years that some mediation takes, especially in treaty making processes like the current one that is undergoing at the World Health Organization on pandemic treaties. That one has been in this phase now for a few weeks, and it looks like it will take a long time for it to ever achieve its goal. In 2006, Indonesia held back very important information regarding the H1N1 virus because they knew that if they went to mediation, they can delay the process and get the vaccines that they need. So instead, they took them to court and they gave up the information. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. Starting now the rebuttal part of the session, the debating from University of Republic. You have 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. In order to make this rebuttal, I'm going to focus on the reference that the other team mentioned about the case of transparency of arbitration and mediation. Now, a question that we made ourselves when preparing this debate is the following regarding to tribunals and courts, and it's the following: how can courts composition and judges selection method be just and reflect equality when most powerful countries and states dominate elections on behalf of the double vote? So, to further understand the point that we are trying to make, let us refer to precisely this case, United States versus Nicaragua. What basically happened in this case is that the court, even though the court ordered the United States to cease and to refrain from the unlawful use of force that this country was taking up on Nicaragua, state that the USA, and I'm going to read what the judgment said, is what United States was in breach of its obligation under customary international law not to use force against another state and order it to pay reparations. So what happened in the end is that the United States took a very long time to comply, and it also made reservations on the optional causes of compulsory jurisdiction. So to conclude, it isn't true that arbitration and mediation I mean, to take as an advantage of arbitration and mediation over the tribunals and courts when, as a permanent member of the Security Council, the United States has been able to block every enforcement mechanism attended by Nicaragua. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the first rebuttal position of the team against, debate team of University of Melbourne, you have 2 minutes.
The point that was made regarding USA stalling and making Nicaragua wait for the decision is a valid point, and it is something that should be focused on, but not ignored. My statement, my opening statement was that we do not live in a perfect world, and it is a fallacy. That being said, what Nicaragua has accomplished is the transparency that the courts offer them. It is in the public domain. It is in the ability for the world to see and for the US to acknowledge every time that they are in front of the ICJ, that they have an obligation under the UN Charter. If this was occurring in mediation, we would not know about it for the last 40 years. It would be hidden. The US would just continually stall. They would continually not show up to their meetings. And that's why the ICJ, at least with this advisory opinion, offers the hope for other nations that are also facing a stronger enemy to at least have an idea of what their resources are and how they could maybe defend their position in a legal way. If this occurred in mediation, we would have no idea. And the smaller nations, especially in the Pacific right now, where our region is located, would not have any idea how to handle strong countries like China, Australia, or any other countries that are trying to influence their ways. Instead, they have cases that they can point to, and they can say, this happened for Nicaragua in 1977. The same could happen for us in 2023. Yes, is the international process slow? Of course it is. But if it is hidden and it is left in meeting rooms where no one has the chance to see what is being said, then the international law will fall apart.
Thank you for your submission. The second rebuttal of the team in favor, you have now 2 minutes.
Thank you. With all respect, our opponent starts saying that we do not live in a perfect world, but as we are not living in a perfect world, we need to start building it. And as time passes and goes by, a lot of things happens. And one of the main advantages of alternative means is that they do not take so much time to resolve their issues. The International Court of Justice can take, the resolutions can take 10 years. The average time to take resolutions are 4 years. I have here an example that I would like to introduce to the table, and it's the dispute in the territory of Congo, Congo versus Uganda, that it started in 1999, and recently it has a resolution in 2022. So imagine that the International Court of Justice also faces a lot of imperfections regarding time, because the nature of the of how the court is composed by 15 members, like a lot of time, a lot of that is a lot of time is taken there. So what we would like to say also about what our mate said is that if a lot of people do not know, and especially little countries do not know about mediation, don't blame the process. Blame or responsibilize the time, the economic resources that are invested there. Let's start educating in these means, and let's start using them, because they are one of the most successful and one of the most important means that nowadays we have as tools to construct a better society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your submission. The debate team against, you have 2 minutes for your second rebuttal. For the debate team of Melbourne, apologies, can you please restart your position? Perhaps switch the microphones on the 2 devices? It's very muted.
So, can you hear me now?
It's a little better. Yes, please restart.
So, in response to colleagues' argument about time spent on the to always take time, but what if they can't speech to take forever time to get resolved. So my point talk about is when the legal issues between the states are contentious, it will be preferred to submit the issues to the court.
Our apologies. Our apologies again. Sorry, apologies to interrupt. This will also be for the judges not to take into consideration. Could we ask you to move to the microphone and restart your position, please?
Can you hear me now? Oh, so
Thank you.
yeah, so let me just repeat. Thanks. In response to your question about the time spent on the issue, mediation may take less time, but if both parties cannot agree on this issue, it will take forever to get resolved. So I'm going to talk about two cases. One is about the sovereignty. The other one is when you deal with the interpretation and the application of the convention. So firstly, when the issues between the states are contentious, it will be preferred to submit the issue to the court since the states cannot reach the agreement. This is especially true with regard to the dispute concerning the sovereignty over a same territory. First, mediation will not work because they can't agree on that, and no one wants to give up their rights to control the land. Secondly, for the arbitration, so even it is more flexible, but the standard used in arbitration could be not clear, so no one knows what's the standard there. In the case of the sovereignty, I think the states may prefer to adopt the strict court rules to be applied in that case. So it will be more appropriate to bring this case into the ICJ. The second case is when the issue becomes more complicated in the treaty. It is especially related to the interpretation and the application of the convention. International tribunals would be a best option for them to deal with that because they have the jurisdiction to deal with those contentious issues. Taking the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, for example, it is an independent judicial body established by the UN in 1982. So if the dispute is related to the convention that concerning the navigation or management of the seas, these cases may not be resolved at the end. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. We are now entering the part of conclusions. The team from University of Republic, you have 2 minutes.
Right, thank you. Well, in order to state our team's conclusion, I will now recap and reinforce the main arguments on behalf of presented by our team, on behalf of which we strongly believe and persistently defend that alternative means of conflict resolution method are more desirable than international courts or tribunals. We understand there are several arguments to defend this thesis. For example, mediation success as a non-intrusive, voluntary, transparent, and non-coercive without risk of reprisals from other parties. Efficiency. Costs involved in arbitration and mediation tend to be considerably lower than those associated with courts and tribunals. Speed. Arbitration and mediation are faster than court procedures. Confidentiality, which isn't possible in courts. In fifth place, arbitrary jurisprudence. Arbitration can also create jurisprudence and, in that sense, can contribute to the development of international law. ICJ's change towards arbitration model, which proves that arbitration and mediation are superior methods. The force of courts composition judges that I referred in my previous intervention. And last but not least, the mentioned reluctance of states to resolve before the court, as Ian Brownlee highlighted in its work in the international, in the American International Journal. To conclude, we would like to share a thought that was brought and is really significant for us, that is from Professor Eduardo Couture, internationally recognized. He said that if time is gold in terms of procedure, it is justice. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission. Now returning to the floor to the debate team from University of Melbourne, you have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
Thank you, Judge and colleagues. In conclusion, I would like to state our position about the arbitrage and mediation should not be preferred for contentious issues like the international conflicts between the states over courts and the tribunals. As my team member mentioned, perfection is a fallacy. First, when the states have imbalanced powers, it will be preferred to resolve the issues before the court and the tribunals to avoid that the weak party may compromise their interest due to the strong influence of the other state. Secondly, when the dispute is related to sovereignty, both states may not reach an agreement in a short period of time. It will require the court to step in to settle the issue. In addition, if the issues are related to the interpretation and application of the convention, it requires international tribunals to settle the issue and restore the peace of those two states. Because lack of transparency and public domain. Lastly, court can prevent the war and raise the public awareness to put pressure on the wrongdoers. Given the above all those considerations, we believe arbitration and mediation are not preferred to resolve international disputes over the courts and tribunals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission. This marks the end of the graded part of the session. So well done on your match in day 2 of the group phase of the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament of 23. So you can now relax. We'll do a short feedback session, which one team you are already familiar with, and the other team you will experience now. And just a short reminder to the audience, the University of Melbourne is now participating. This is their first match of the tournament. They will have their day 1 match at a postponement due to later start of their academic schedule compared to the other participants. So now that should have given you a bit more time to breathe in and breathe out after your conclusions. Giving the floor first to Mr. Slonim, how did you find the debate, the preparation, and did you perhaps already encounter this in your studies?
I found the debate enlightening and enjoyable. It was really nice to actually apply what we've learned in school. I was lucky to have Professor Ann Orford, who's a leading academic in the international world, teach me the public international law class last year. So I did come into contact with a lot of the material, and this exact question we were posed in class. Whether the ICJ or mediation and arbitration are, two different solutions. So I was used to the source material, but it was really nice to actually take the source material and use it into an argument.
My sense of the University of Republic, how did you find the preparation, the match, and did you already encounter the subject?
First of all, thank you very much. It is really an honor for us for being here. And also we found the debate really enjoyable. We think that the members of Melbourne University are very able speakers, and we enjoyed a lot having this debate with them. Also, we would like to thank our International Public Law Professor Alejandro Pastori, who helped us and was very kind to us, and we would like to thank him.
Yes, congratulations for you guys from Melbourne University. You were great in this debate and brought up some arguments that we weren't prepared to. So
we hope to see you.
Excellent.
Gracias.
De nada.
And on that note, Ms. Baum, how did you find the debate, the preparation?
Yeah, I think it's quite fascinating. So this is my first time to participate in the competition or debate. And I only learned the lesson from the public law and also dispute ethics. So I just try to combine all the knowledge I have and did some research on the ICJ website and some tribunal websites to consolidate my knowledge. It's a really good match.
Glad you enjoyed it. Happy to provide a platform for it. Mr. Michelini, how did you find the preparation, the match?
Well, I really enjoyed this match and the process of preparing this debate because on 7 days you have to form knowledge and opinions and arguments on both sides, and it's a really interesting duty to learn and apply, as Ian said, knowledge that what we learn in our law school. So I feel really great.
On the side of organizing team, I can only say congratulations. Well done on your research preparation and execution of that research and preparation. It can be, as you have experienced, it can be a little challenging to have a limited amount of time to prepare for both sides of argument, then just 5 minutes to finalize your preparations, but you have done really well. Looking very much forward to your next debates. Each round is focused on a different aspect of sustainable development goals by the United Nations. So you can expect perhaps some topics related to media law, entertainment law, sports law, so completely different batch from what was the debate today. And really well done on today's session. Passing the floor to my colleague who will be finishing up.
Yes, congratulations for this match as well, because you had to do a lot of research, and indeed, even if you have the support of some professors, and as well, I have to mention as well the name of Zoe Tang Chong, who is in the external competitions on the side of the University of Melbourne, who has been exchanging emails during the previous months simply to adjust for the days for the match, knowing that academic schedules are different, of course, between Australia, Europe, and as well South America, for example. So many thanks as well on the side of the University of Uruguay in order to accept indeed to have the match in the evening for you, because then you can have the match in the evening and the team in Australia can have the match in the morning. So yes, many thanks for this flexibility as well. Just to as well know a bit more about the current situation in the group phase for this group. So there are 4 universities: the University of the Republic, which is in Montevideo in Uruguay, the University of Melbourne in Australia, as well as the University of Bologna in Italy, and Qatar University in Doha in Qatar. So it means there was already one match 2 weeks ago between Bologna and Montevideo, between the Uruguayan team and the Italian team. Next week there will be the match actually between the Qatar University team will be as well having, because as well Qatar University has some delay, so in that group. But yes, there will be a match next week between Qatar University and the University of the Republic of Uruguay, and as well 2 days later, of course you will know the dates, we'll send you the topics, the dates and time proposed, obviously, the match between Melbourne and Bologna, and that will be at the end of next week. And for, of course, to make sure that the day one as well is done as well by the team from Melbourne, and you will have your last match early April as well, the one that you should have had in February, but that was not yet the start of the academic year. So this is actually the current situation. The 2 best teams of this group will qualify for the 8th of final, plus as well there are 2 spots available for the best 3rd place among all the 3rd place of all the groups. So there are 7 groups of universities to get to the 8th of finals as well. A last element, which is a tradition at the end of some match, is of course to see the connections between the teams, between the universities participating to a match. On the side of the University of Uruguay, do you know if you already met anybody from Australia? For example, in Uruguay, some persons who have been maybe visiting lecture in your university.
Definitely, I would like to visit, but I'm not sure if I have already met Australian people. So maybe it's the first time.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And on the side in Australia, have you met any professor or student coming from Uruguay?
I played football with a couple of kids from Uruguay, so that's it. And I know a little bit about Simón Bolívar and Uruguay history, but other than that, no.
Yeah, Simón Bolívar is of course famous in many countries of South America for his history of simply South America. And of course, one last element maybe you could share with us. What do you know, maybe, or even maybe one famous person you know from the other country? A star or whoever it is. So maybe do you know in Australia someone famous from Uruguay? Do you know Luis Suarez or no? I think yes.
Cavani. Yeah.
Yeah, Cavani.
Right.
Okay, yes, indeed. He used to play in Paris. Yeah, and now I think he's in Italy. And on the side of Uruguay, do you know anybody Australian very famous?
We must probably know, but
Yes.
now we can't recall, but we must.
Have you seen the movie Thor? No, the Thor, the movie with superheroes.
Sorry.
So the one who plays this character, so Chris Hemsworth, is from Melbourne, I think. He was born in Melbourne. So yes, you have seen, I guess, the movie, but you didn't know that person is from Melbourne, maybe.
Landscapes, Australia.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
time I watch images from Australia, it's really beautiful.
Yes.
And the people seem to be really, really good people.
Yes.
Like, warm people.
So I think you need to invite, the Uruguayan students to Australia to give a tour. I've been myself a long time ago in Australia. I've never been in Uruguay, but I flew over Uruguay once. But yes, two beautiful countries, obviously, and we hope that indeed you can make some connections. There will be some networking activities in a few weeks from now. But yes, this is the first match for the Australian team. This is the second match concerning the team from Uruguay. You will get the topic in a few days from now for the match that you will have next week. And of course, you will know it will be a different theme, as my colleague said. And of course, yes, we are looking forward to see you again live. Okay? Many thanks. Muchas gracias as well. So we see you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well done. Goodbye.